All right, guys, welcome to our Finance Friday. Welcome again. We do these every week. I'm Jerry Fetta, owner, founder, CEO of Wealth DynamX. And every week for going on 4 years now, we've been coming to you guys with a live course on finances. This week's topic, financial consistency. Okay. Now, let me scoot this a little bit closer for you guys. If you have not been on this course before, I want to welcome you. If you guys are returning, you've been here before, welcome back. And every week we go over finances. Okay. Finances for me are something growing up that I think a lot of us have in common. Kind of an odd subject, didn't get talked about a lot. Parents were not successful with money. I didn't have any mentors with finances. And so I spent much of my adolescent life watching the financial habits and behaviors of those around me. Okay. Watching my parents with money, watching my friends, my peers, my teachers, their parents, and picking up all of these habits that at the time I didn't even realize I was picking up. Right. I thought I was just, doing life and these were adults and they knew what they were doing. And so I should just trust them and I could mimic what they do when I got older. Okay. Little did I know, not a good idea, right? If you've experienced that, you've probably seen for yourself a lot of the stuff that our parents learned with money, they learned out as a coping mechanism. And it's not something we usually should duplicate or repeat. Now, as I started growing older and learning about money, you guys know my story. If you don't, I became a financial advisor. I was a financial advisor for my own mom. And so my goal and my thing in life was helping people retire by age 60. Okay. My story is my mom passed away at age 60. Okay. I was her financial advisor. As I said, I was helping her with her retirement funds. And so I watched this entire theory of, live below your means and go to school and get good grades and get a good job so you can go to college and get a degree and get a career and invest with Wall Street and pay off your mortgage all before you're 60, hopefully so that you can die before you run out of money. I watched that not work. And I watched that not work with one of the people that I loved the most in life at that time. And so I had to really look at it as a financial advisor, because that was one of my hats, helping people with money. What am I actually sharing with people? What am I actually teaching people? And is it worthwhile? Is it actually helping them? And then I had to look at my own finances and say, shoot, I just lost my mom. And I saw this whole thing that I was planning on doing myself. I was going to follow that model myself. I saw that not work for her. Okay. And it wasn't anything she did wrong. It was just that she didn't live as long as she intended to. And I think a lot of us, we have that same plan is it's going to be all right. Right? I don't have to do anything different. I can just put money in my 401k plan at work and I can just pay the mortgage and I can just make sure I don't have very much debt and that I kind of sort of save some money every month. And if I just wait long enough, things are going to work out. Okay. If 2020 and 2021 are a example of anything, it's that the stuff we don't plan for still happens. Okay. Just because we didn't expect it doesn't mean it ain't going to happen. Right. So what I want to share tonight is how do we maintain financial consistency? Right now, before I dive into this, I want to lay down a couple of ground rules. Number one, I want to make sure that we all have a purpose for being here tonight. Okay. It's got to be beyond entertainment. We're not watching this just to be entertained or have fun or be part of the club that watches Finance Friday. We should each have our individual purpose. My purpose is to help you gain financial education, help you gain solvency, help you gain greater financial freedom in your life. Your goal should be applying the information. Okay. As you're learning this, you should be thinking about, okay, what is Jerry saying? How do I apply it? Right? What am I hearing right now? How do I go apply this when this course is done? That's the first thing. Second thing is we have to, Justin Goff says he wants hair like Jerry. Just get quarantined for a year and don't cut it, Justin. It's super easy. Second thing is we have to make sure that we understand that we don't know it all already. The barrier to study begins with thinking that I don't need to learn. Right? If I'm watching this, I probably don't have that barrier, right? But we're going to hear stuff tonight that might be different than our current realities, especially when I talk about some of the consistency in behavior. It might conflict with some of our current beliefs, some of our fixed ideas that we currently operate on. And so, as I always tell myself, I've got to realize that if I don't have results in the area, I don't got the goodies, man. My information, if I'm not winning in that area, the stuff I believe doesn't work. The information I have doesn't work. Now, if I'm winning, that's a different story, right? If I have the right information to make sense that I'm winning. If I'm not, I have to realize there's more to learn in this area. Third thing is if I say anything that doesn't make sense to you, if it feels like we skipped from 1 to 100 all of a sudden, and you're like, whoa, what did we just cover? Make sure that you let me know. I don't want to skip anything. And I want to make sure too, that we also understand that all of this is just math and vocabulary. If we simplify it all down, it's basic arithmetic. addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then the definitions of the words being used. And so if there's anything that I say that doesn't make sense, be ready to ask questions to let me know. Say, hey, Jerry, you just said something. I didn't get that. What was the math behind that? What was the vocabulary behind that? Can you simplify it so that I can apply it? Okay. That's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Now, the topic is financial consistency. Okay. Financial consistency. Let me paint you a picture, right? Let's call it New Year's. New Year's rolls around. We all set goals, right? Some of us, we set goals and we actually have the intention of achieving those goals. And so we set up a strategic plan to follow in order to achieve the goals. Let's say that goal is relating to finances. And we say, all right, I'm going to pay off all my debt this year. This is the year that I do it. I'm done with debt. Or I'm going to save up my first 50,000. I'm going to put it into investment. Or I'm finally going to hit that 40% savings rate that Jerry and his team are always talking about. And I'm set on it and I'm going to do it. And I've got an action plan. Okay. And I do this for a day and a couple of days and a week and maybe a couple of weeks. And eventually I wake up one day and I'm like, man, I really don't want to log into Wealth Dynamics University today. I'm busy. I've already seen this before. I've heard it. Money's not that complex. It's a lot simple. I don't need to watch all these videos. I could just skip it for today. Okay. And I also don't feel like, promoting on social media to grow my business or, doing the extra calls at work to make some sales or putting in the overtime to earn some extra dollars. I'm going to slack off on that now too. And the 1 to 5 game on the Big 3 challenge, that's really cool and everything, but I already know what I spent and, I can just earn more if I don't pay attention to it. It's not a big deal. I never used to track my expenses. So why do I have to do it now? And so we slack off on that too. All of a sudden, we've lost consistency. Okay. And then we get further and further into the year and we realize we haven't trained in weeks or months. We don't even remember our logins on Wealth Dynamics University. And the income thing, we're getting government subsidy checks. Who cares about it? They're taking care of us. We don't need to earn more income. And we haven't looked at expenses at all, but we know that there's money in the bank. And so things couldn't be that bad, right? And what we've done is we've lost consistency and we've also forgotten about our goals. And what I found for me back when I would fall into this is I would then usually make the goal less significant. Okay, because I lost consistency, I would say, okay, the goal is not that important, right? And I'm busy and I have a lot of stuff going on and there's more for me to do. And so I can always pick up on that goal later and it's not something that's very important. And I would make it a reduced version of itself so that I could make sense of why I gave up on it. Okay. This story should sound familiar to all of us because whether it's finances, fitness, a relationship, quitting smoking, it doesn't matter. We've all done this with goals before. Now, specifically, I want to talk about finances because the stats show us 80% of people are paycheck to paycheck. 90% of people are financially illiterate. 60% of people have less than $1,000 saved. 25% of people that admit that they don't even have an account to save money into. And so those numbers would show us that people aren't winning with money, which means that we've given up on our goals. We lack financial consistency. Okay. This can happen at the very lowest tier. And I hate to break it to you, it can happen at the very highest tier. You could be an accredited investor and still struggle with consistency. You can be financially independent and still struggle with consistency. So what I want to share with you tonight is how do we solve this problem? How do we stay on track? Okay. Now, the first thing we need to understand is what is consistency? Okay. The definition of consistency, constantly adhering to the same principles, course, form, etc. Okay. So constantly adhering, constantly, something is always happening. It's in a state of constants. Adhering means I'm following something. I'm actually like following a set of protocols or rules or something that apparently works because it's the same principles. It's the same principle, course, form, etc. Right? That's the definition of consistency. So when I'm not doing that, it means that I am not constantly adhering to the same principles, course, form, etc. Realize that word constantly means all of the time. Okay, consistency means all of the time. It doesn't mean that most of the time I did okay at following it, but a little bit of the time I didn't. That's not consistency. Automatically, I've disqualified myself from the definition of consistency if I remove the word constantly, right? Adhering to the same principles, course, form, etc. sometimes is not consistency. Okay, I know that sounds very binary and it might sound very intense, but that is the dictionary definition of consistency. And so if I'm not doing that, I lack that. That is a reason why I'm not winning with finances. If I'm not winning is the fact that I'm not constantly doing this, right? We have this thing called the Big 3 challenge. This is a journal that I put together and I'll share this with you guys so you can see it. But every day we check off one of these points, right? The top of the triangle is did I train? Did I learn about finances today? Right? The next corner of the triangle over is did I do something to earn income? And then the third one is did I rate and rate and account for my transactions? Okay. All of us should be doing this every single day. That's something that I'm consistent about. You don't have to be a millionaire to do this. And if you are a millionaire and you do this, you're going to become a multimillionaire because this works. But it's something that I have to constantly be doing. Right? Now, here's the thing. Consistency is needed once we taste success. Right? And I'm going to share something with you that I didn't know right away. And it might be a new thought for some of us tonight. But this consistency thing is only for when we're winning. Because if we look at the definition of consistency, right, constantly adhering to the same principles, course, form, etc., you could say the same thing applies to someone that's failing. When I was failing with finances, I was constantly adhering to the same principles, course, form, etc. They were just the wrong ones, right? I was spending more than I earned. I wasn't trying to increase my income. I wasn't paying myself first. I wasn't doing the big 3 challenge every day. I wasn't learning about money. And so that was a state that I was constantly in, that I was constantly adhering to. And that was creating the result of me being insolvent, of me being broke, of me being financially illiterate, right? So consistency is something that we implement once we're already winning. If we're not winning, we actually need a different word. Okay, and I'm going to define winning as we're at least solvent. We're at least out of debt, earning more than we spend. We have more than 6 months of expenses and reserves. We're credit worthy. Our assets, outweigh our liabilities. Our risks are lower than our rewards. All of our stuff is covered, right? Solvent means that no matter what, I'm okay. That's winning with finances. And there's greater and greater degrees. I can become then financially free. I can become an investor, etc. But if I'm at least solvent, we're going to define that as winning, right? If I'm solvent, life becomes very comfortable, right? Anyone that's achieved that milestone, especially if you're in sales and business and you realize I have 6 months of reserves in the bank, I could do terrible this month and be fine, right? That's actually a very dangerous realization for some of us, right? Or I have 6 months worth of credit. Maybe I don't have all the money I need, but I'm comfortable because I have the credit, or, I'm earning enough income where I don't feel the need to budget. So the consistency factor gives us that edge to keep going, because once we're solvent, it means that we've already been tasting success because we've already been applying successful principles, courses of actions, forms, etc. The things that got us solvent, the things that got us a greater degree of financial freedom are the things we have to keep doing once we get there. Right? It's this myth of once I'm there, I no longer have to. That's not how it works. This is, like I said, it's very, very resemblant to physical fitness. It's like you hit your weight goal, right? You're like, man, I want to gain a certain amount of muscle, or I want to lose a certain amount of weight. Well, once you get there, you can't stop, or you're going to gain all the fat back and lose all the muscle. You have to keep doing the things that got you there in the first place. And it's a constant state. And that's this consistency factor. So winners are consistent. People that win because they are consistent. They keep doing the same things over and over, right? It's the fact of the matter that success is not difficult. There's no secret about it. It's just boring. It's the same thing over and over. You earn the money, you save the money, you put it in the gold and the sacred account, and then you build it up to the 50,000, and then you borrow it out and you put it into the passive income deal, and then you earn the money and you save the money, and you do that over and over and over and over until your net worth starts to grow and your savings rate starts to grow and your passive income grows, and all of a sudden you're financially independent. And you look at, okay, well, I'm not financially independent. How do I now become worth 2 million or 3 million or 5 million? It's going to be the same stuff you did to get financially independent, right? So if I'm not consistent, then I'm actually interrupting the very things that got me where I'm at, which means I'm reversing the order, the sequence that I was following, right? Adhering to the same principles, course, form. If I reverse the form, what's going to happen? I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start going the other direction because I'm doing different things. I'm doing the opposite of what got me here, right? So winners are consistent. Losers are also consistent. Right? We've already identified that fact. A winner is a winner because they do the same things over and over that lead to winning. A loser is a loser because they do the same things over and over that lead to losing. So it really comes down to which principles, which systems am I adhering to? And if I'm winning, I need to identify what they are, and I need to aim my consistency at those things. And if I'm losing, I need to identify what my principles are and realize that they don't work. I need to stop being consistent at those things. I need to start being consistent at other things. Okay. So the question becomes, what are you consistent at? right? And nobody's perfect. So we look at this and we can say, okay, well, I'm consistent at maybe earning income, but I'm not consistent at saving, or I'm consistent at investing. Maybe I'm not consistent at earning income, right? Maybe I'm consistent at saving, but I don't earn enough. And so we can all look at areas that we have pros and cons at, but the problem is I need to be consistent in all three of those areas. We have this thing called the triangle of wealth: earn, save, invest. Consistency needs to happen in all three of those areas at all times so that I can continue to build wealth. So what are we consistent at? And is that thing that we're consistent at bringing us greater financial freedom, or is it reducing our financial freedom? Right? I know some people that are consistent at borrowing money for consumer debt. Not a good thing to be consistent at. Every time they dig out of the hole, boom, they're right back in debt. Car payment paid off. Let me get another one, right? Or house payment. We finally got it down. Oop, let me refinance or buy another house. Okay, so we have to look at what are we consistent at. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the difference between consistency and persistency. These are two different factors: consistency and persistency. We talked about what consistency is, right? Constantly following the same, adhering to the same rules, principles, forms, etc. What about persistency? Okay, persistency is continue steadfastly in some state, purpose, course of action, or the like, especially in spite of opposition. Okay, I'm going to say something that you may never have heard before. Winners need consistency. Losers need persistency, right? Financially, if I'm solvent and I'm building wealth and I'm above water, I need consistency. I need to keep doing the same things. I need to study every day, right? And the reason why is because I've already done it successfully. I've already studied. I've already saved money. I've already earned. I've already done all of the stuff that got me solvent and gave me greater financial freedom. I need to be consistent in continuing to do those things. If I'm insolvent and I'm losing with money, I don't need consistency. Consistency is the reason why I'm losing, because I practice the same behaviors over and over. I need persistency, right? Which means that I need to continue steadfastly in some state, some purpose, or course of action. I need to change. I need a different purpose. I need a different goal. And I need to continue steadfastly, especially in spite of opposition. Okay, what is opposition? Opposition means obstacles. All of the things that are going to try and derail me, because they will, right? The car is going to break as soon as I start my PFP course, right? My friend is going to tell me how bad life insurance is as soon as I sign up for a sacred account. I'm going to have a gigantic tax payment come up as soon as it's time to fund my 401k, my solo 401k, right? Those are oppositions. So the question is, do I continue steadfastly and have persistence, continuing to push, continuing to work, continuing to grind and get in the right direction, and no longer be consistent with the bad habits and make the break and change over to the good ones? That's persistency. Okay. As a winner, I'm not going to say you don't need persistency, but it's easier because you already know what to do, right? Like I said, it's the same stuff: earn, save, invest. All of this is going to be over and over and over redundant. If I already got to the point of, having some success, it means to some degree, I already know what to do. I don't need persistency. I need consistency. Versus if I don't know what to do, I've been practicing the wrong behaviors, I have the wrong habits, it's causing me to lose with money, I need persistency. Okay. This was a mindset shift for me because I thought consistency was the end all be all, right? Tortoise in the hare, slow and steady wins the race. Okay. Well, what if it's slow and steady with bad habits or going in the wrong direction? It's not going to win the race. Okay. And if I'm accustomed to that, the change itself is going to be difficult. Contrary to popular belief, we've all heard it takes 21 days to build a habit, right? That's completely false. There's studies that have been done that tell us that it takes 66 days at a minimum and 1 year at a maximum. And the average is somewhere in between that in order for us to build a habit or break a habit, which means if I am losing with money and I'm trying to exercise persistency, this is the reason why the Big 3 Challenge journal is 90 days. I believe for most of us, if we do this 90 days in a row, every single page over and over, and we never skip a day, it will turn into a behavior and we will have the persistency to get 90 days into it. Once we're there, we'll also have developed the consistency to keep going, right? It's like pushing a boulder up the hill. That's persistent. Up the hill is persistent. That's where all of the effort is. That's where I want to quit. That's where everything is hard. Down the hill is the easy part. Then it's just about maintaining it in the same direction, making sure that I don't wreck, that it doesn't go in the wrong way, that it doesn't fall off the hill, right? So that's really the focus here. Now, here's the thing is winners must maintain successful knowledge and behavior. This is more of a maintenance stage, consistency, right? Which means if I haven't got it there, then I can't maintain because I don't have, right? But if I have it, then I'm maintaining it. Losers must change unsuccessful knowledge and behavior. Okay, it took me a long time, especially as a Dave Ramsey financial advisor. I was licensed, I was selling mutual funds, I was teaching people how to retire. It took me some time to realize that my knowledge and my behavior at that point in my life was unsuccessful. Okay, and think about that. It's already a hard enough pill for most of us to swallow. If you go up to someone, it doesn't matter who, they can be a complete stranger, and you ask them about one of their beliefs or ideas, doesn't matter what it is, and then you tell them they're wrong, I guarantee you'll start an argument. Every single time. Doesn't matter whether it's wrong or right, whether you were insincere or just joking, they will argue with you. Okay, because we as humans have a hard time changing. We have a hard time admitting that we have the wrong knowledge and behavior, because usually there's some kind of reason why we adopted it. There's somebody important or sentimental that we got it from, or maybe it helped us in a time of need, even though it doesn't serve us anymore. Right? So if you take just the baseline, like somebody can't admit to being wrong, doesn't want to change, and then you multiply that into your finances, an area that we're already afraid to talk about, we're already afraid to be transparent about, we already have tons of failures built up, tons of false information, tons of wrong data. And on top of that, we have Wall Street, banks, and the IRS preying on our illiteracy while that's all happening. And then we tell someone, you're wrong, you need to change. Okay, and this is why I don't tell people that. I believe it has to be a realization on myself. I have to get to a point where I'm like, man, this sucks. Something's wrong. And I've tried everything. It must be what I think and do. Until I realize that, I'll never change. And until then, I'll continue on being consistent with the wrong behaviors. Right? So it's about turning that corner. So how do we do that? Right? I want to talk about how we go about this. Now, if I'm in the insolvent stage, this means that I'm on phase 0 through 2 on the Blueprint of Financial Freedom. This is a book that I wrote last year, Blueprint of Financial Freedom. And what this goes into is the step-by-step way to build financial freedom, greater and greater financial freedom in life. The goal is become financially independent, where my passive income exceeds my savings, expenses, and taxes, right? So on phase 0 through 2, this is the phase of being insolvent. It means that initially, maybe I'm not earning more than I spent. Right? Initially, maybe I'm financially illiterate, which means I don't know how money truly works. Maybe it means that I don't have reserves built up. It can mean that I don't have consumer debt. It can mean that I'm not credit worthy. It can mean that I'm not properly protected from risks and liabilities in my life, right? So when I'm insolvent, how do I go about persistency? Is get through 0 through 2. Okay, these are the hardest phases. Anyone that's gotten through them will tell you this is the freaking grind. Okay, getting through 0 through 2, re-educating myself about money. I've talked to people that are 45 years old and they're just now learning that what they thought about money wasn't true. And we're having to rewire 45 years of education, habits, and behaviors. That's not easy. Okay, most people would quit. And so those that stick with that, like, big shout out, right? So 0 through 2, like getting through those phases requires persistency. Okay, the big 3 challenge: opening this journal up every single day and checking off, did I train? Check. Did I earn income? Check. Did I account for my expenses? Check. Did I rate them on a 1 to 5 scale? Writing those down, that is persistency, especially if I've not been doing it. Especially if my habit is to avoid money, spend without thinking, earn less than I spend, not work hard, give my money to Wall Street, banks, and the IRS. Like, I'm having to reverse all of those behaviors. Okay, so this is something that I have to really focus on is, if I'm insolvent, get through 0 through 2, do the big 3 challenge every single day while I'm going, and be persistent at that, because I have to realize that I'm not just trying to build consistency. I'm fighting a 2-front battle. I need to build consistency in doing the right things and build persistency in getting rid of the wrong things, overcoming all of the obstacles that exist as somebody that's trying to do this. When I was first ever working out, first ever doing bodybuilding, I didn't know anything about fitness. I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything about weight training. And so I got in the weight room. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know that I was supposed to have protein shakes after my workout. I would work out 3 or 4 hours because I was 16 years old and could, right? And then I have nothing to eat. I wouldn't have any protein, no carbohydrates, nothing. And then I'd wonder, why am I not making gains? right? I'm doing all the right things. I'm consistent with going to the gym, but I'm not persistent in now developing the behavior and habit of doing things the right way. Now, if I'm solvent, what should I be focused on? Okay, I've talked about this before. If I'm solvent, again, I earn more than I spent. I have no consumer debt. I own more than I owe, right? My rewards are greater than my risks. I'm credit worthy. I have a forced savings plan going on. I've got 6 months of reserves. All of that's happening. If I'm solvent, I need to be focused on phases 2 through 3. Okay. Phases 2 through 3 are the hardest once I'm solvent, because once I'm on phase 3, 3B means I'm on the 40% club. I'm saving 40% of my income. I've talked about this before. I don't need to have the same discipline when I'm saving 40% of my income. I currently do that. Guess what? I don't do the budget. The reason why is I take 40% off the top, and then I can spend whatever else I want after that, because I've already done the 40% rule. The purpose of getting, the big 3 challenge and budget and earn all of that done is so that you can save 40%. The purpose of saving 40% of your gross is so that you can start turning that into a habit and in investing for passive income, and then building that savings rate through the passive income that shows up. Once you're there, you don't need to budget, right? It doesn't mean don't know about your finances, don't have bookkeeping and record keeping. It means you don't need to rate every transaction. You don't need to think about if you should have eaten out or not. You don't need to track your miles or any of that. It's all right, cool. I saved my 40%. I'm good to go. What do I want to do with my money? I can just enjoy it at this point. So when I'm solvent, I need to get through and done with phase 3. Okay, because if I don't, what happens is I get lazy. I'm going to cover this in a little bit, but the trick to overcome with solvency is, now I'm solvent. I need to stay consistent with all of the things that got me here. I can't rest on my laurels. It's not time to kick back and relax. I talked about on Independence Day this year, we did a course about how, we all figuratively and literally do live in a financial prison. And the thing that happens when somebody gets, to phase 2 is they're like, all right, cool. I've got a nice cot. People are done beating me up. The guys in the yard are nice to me now. I could just hang out here till I die. Right. And that's not the plan. That's not what you started with. You started with, I need to get out of jail. I need to get out of prison. I need to get financially independent where I'm not trading my time for money anymore. Why are we now settling for, I don't have any debt, I've got some cash in the bank, and I'm good now? Right. So phase 2 through 3, I need to sprint. I need to sprint through phase 2. The good news is phase 2, it's very product oriented. Get your estate plan, boom, done. Get your RIM loan done, boom, done. Get your tax planning done, boom. And then we move through it, right? Phase 3, that's more about behavior. Am I actually saving 40% of my income now? And I stay there until I am. And then once I get there, I don't let up and I continue that habit of saving 40%, but I don't have to run with the same intensity. Right? Because this is the equivalent of like, now I'm underground with the prison in the tunnel. I'm at least digging and making progress, and it's not the same life anymore. Sure, it's hard work. I'm not out yet, but at least I've got some progress. So I'm going to maintain the big 3 challenge all the way through phase 2, all the way through phase 3. I'm going to keep doing that because it is, again, a successful action. The mistake that we make with success is we abandon successful actions once we feel comfortable. Keep doing the things that got you where you are. Right now, how do we break this down? How do we actually apply this? Right. I put this down as actual things we can do. So as far as application, this is something every single one of us can take away from this course today. Every day, this is a daily behavior. I do the big 3 challenge. Right. Again, I'll show you guys on the screen. Big 3 challenge. Simple little triangle, right? Top of the triangle is, did I learn about money today? Right. Then we look at the next little corners. Did I earn income today? And the next little corner, did I account for my expenses? And then down here in the bottom is where we actually rate the transactions on a 1 to 5 scale, right? So what did I spend? I log into my mint.com app, which is free. There's no reason not to do this. I log into the mint.com app. At the end of the day, I find out what did I spend, and I write it in the journal and I rate it on a 1 to 5 scale. Okay. 1, it was dumb. I get rid of it. Return it right away. 2, bad timing. I didn't need it right now. Get rid of it, return it right away, get the money back. 3 is a maybe. Maybes don't really exist. I'm going to find out, is that a 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. 4 is needed for survival: food, clothing, shelter, transportation, health, personal development, things that I need to do in order to survive. And then 5 is income producing and tax reducing. Right. And I start ranking things like that. If I do that every day for 90 days, I guarantee your life has changed. Guaranteed. Right. So this is something that everyone should be doing every day, at least through 3B. Right. Once you're on phase 4, You're a sophisticated investor. You're saving 40% of your income. You've done several investment deals already. It's not as urgent, and the big three challenge is not as necessary. Still will help you, but you've probably got those habits built. Now, on a weekly basis, what am I doing? Weekly, I'm doing the personal financial purge. We have a course called the Personal Financial Purge, and it goes through how to increase and plan for more income, how to budget your expenses, how to balance it out, find out what you're spending, what you're planning to spend, et cetera. And it does it in a very workable system, right? It also goes through the 4 accounts, right? I need to have an income account. I need to have an expense account. I need to have a liability account, and I need to have a sacred account. Those are the 4 accounts, right? And so if I have that set up, that means that every week I should be reviewing that spreadsheet. Okay, we have a spreadsheet that comes with the PFP course, and this spreadsheet becomes very easy to review when I've been doing the big 3 challenge and rating my transactions every day, right? Now, when I don't do that, then I've got 7 days worth of backlog, and then it's like, oh crap, it's Saturday or Sunday or whatever day you do it, and you're like, oh, I really don't want to deal with this, and then you skip it, right? So why we have this big 3 challenges, so that every day you're doing the transactional rating, so that when it comes time for you to actually do this PFP exercise, all you've got to do is look in your journal and find out, what did I spend? What is it rated at? Boom, it's done. You don't have to go deal with it all, right? And then weekly, I should be looking at my blueprint to freedom phases. I should be looking at, which phase am I on? Okay, we have 3 questions we always ask. Which phase did I just finish? Which phase am I on? And which one's next? And every week I should be answering those 3 questions. Which phase did I just finish? Which one am I on? Which one's next? Right? Guys, we're breaking out of financial prison. We're breaking into financial freedom. Everything should be like fully inspected every week. We're saying, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day it is, you do these 2 things no matter what. Okay. Now, if you really want to mix it up and you really want to turn this into something fun, if you're married, make it a date and talk about your business. If you have a family management entity, if you have self-employment income, if you have network marketing, whatever it might be. And then that weekly meeting becomes a tax deductible event. Boom. We've just turned a 4 into a 5, right? Big 3 challenge journal. Monthly. What do we do every month? We should be looking at our profit and loss, meaning, what did I make? What did I spend for the month? A summary, so that I can see what's my net surplus. If I'm in a business, this is probably happening through my bookkeeping, but the mistake that we make is, if we're not business owners, we think this doesn't apply to us, and then we don't do it. Okay. You still have a month, you still have income, you still have expenses, you still have surplus. If you're a W-2 employee, you should still be doing a profit and loss with your budget. You should still be shoring up. You've done the weekly already, right? We've already done the PFP. We've already done the daily. Just tally it up for the month and find out, what's my profit and loss total. Doesn't have to be super complex, right? And then secondly, what's my balance sheet? This is super easy. What do I own? What do I owe? Every month I should be looking at this. What do I own? What do I owe? I don't need a fancy software or technology or banker to help me with this. I can just tally up basic math. Add what you own, subtract what you owe. Boom. The difference, I'm either positive or negative, right? If I track this every month, what I'll see is I start becoming more and more profitable each month, and I start owning more and more every month and owing less and less. And then it keeps me in check on my daily and weekly, because then I look and I'm like, man, I had a really good month, and I can attribute that to, I did my daily, I did my weekly stuff. Or I had a really bad month, I can attribute that to, I wasn't consistent, right? Now, what about quarterly? This is one that I found is very helpful. And some of this I actually thought of tonight. I was like, man, we should add this in. But Lexi and I, we've always been big on doing quarterly trips, right? So quarterly, we would try and always do a retreat or a trip where we would leave the town that we're in. We would go somewhere that's nice or exciting. We'd stay in a hotel. We'd spend some extra money, and we would be there for 2 or 3 days, and we would reward ourselves for achieving our goals. Right? Like, how many of us, we just take finances as such a for granted thing, and we just get caught up in the monotony, and we forget to realize, man, I paid off a crap ton of debt. I saved a lot of money. I did a lot of investing. I bought a lot of gold in the last 3 months. That's awesome. I'm going to acknowledge myself for that. I'm going to go and enjoy my hard work for 3 or 4 days, 2 or 3 days, right? So I'm rewarding myself. Now, I put rewards and penalties. Full disclosure, the penalties one is not something I've done yet. I just thought of this as a cool idea, because some quarters you'll sit down and you're like, all right, man, March just got done, end of quarter 1, things went great, right? Let's go to Hawaii. Let's go to Florida. Let's go to Mexico. Let's do whatever, and let's have a retreat. What if you get to March though and you're like, man, we freaking bombed it. We forgot to train. We didn't do anything with the big 3 challenge. We didn't save any money. We didn't buy any gold. Good thing we have a sacred account because that's the only thing that kept happening since it's on auto deposit. And we just didn't have a good quarter. Well, I would instill a penalty, right? The reward is a quarterly retreat. The penalty is quarterly volunteering. Okay, not to say volunteering is bad, but it's like, all right, cool. I'm not going to reward myself for down production, right? So whether it's my church or a charity or a work group, I'm going to take 2 or 3 days and volunteer my time and work, and I'm going to help, and it's going to be great, but it's not fun. Like I'm sweeping parking lots or helping out at food banks. It's not something I would prefer to do in my leisure time. I would rather be in Mexico, right? And so it's a way of building in a penalty where it's like, all right, I didn't hit my goals. And so, this is still a contribution. The reason why I put volunteering is the reason why I wouldn't hit my goals quarterly is because I consumed more than I produced. Meaning I'm in a deficit. I have more consumption in my life than production. It results in me having a bad quarter. So I'm going to get rid of some of that negative consumption by voluntarily producing, helping my church, helping my charity, helping whatever group I can for 2 or 3 days that quarter in order to kind of reverse the excess consumption that I have, right? So this is something I would do every quarter. And then annually, I would do goal setting, and I would do it at the ideal scene, right? Once a year, go on a trip within means, within the budget, within what you can afford to do at the time you're at, with the phase you're at. Go somewhere that inspires you to become financially free for 3, 4, 5 days with your spouse, with your kids, whatever you would like to do, whoever you'd like to bring, but spend that time goal setting, looking at, all right, what did I do in the last several quarters? 4 quarters have gone by, 12 months have gone by, 52 weeks have gone by. How did we do? What blueprint phase are we on? Which one did we just finish? Which one's next? What are our financial goals for the upcoming year? And the entire time I'm in an area that inspires me to become financially independent. It reminds me of what financial independence is going to be like. Now, here's the beauty of it. If I'm winning, then it's giving me a taste. I'm like, man, I'm that much closer to this. This could be every day. I just have to keep doing what I'm doing. If I'm losing, it's going to give me like a little taste. And then I'm realizing, man, I haven't been doing anything to be on track for this. It's almost a rude awakening. Sure, it's enjoyable, but it's like, man, I haven't been, doing my studying. I haven't been saving. I haven't been investing. And while this is great, I'm going to go back home to that job that I hate with the debt that I'm trying to pay off that I haven't been focusing on. And I'm never going to get here. I need to change some things. And then it goes back into the goal setting, right? So this is an annual calendar that everyone could be doing. This is not difficult. This is not expensive. This is not time consuming. You literally like take some of your Facebook and Instagram scrolling time every day and put it on this instead. You can get all this done probably in 30 minutes a day, and then take some of your Netflix time and put that aside for the once a week thing. Okay. And then take some of your Netflix time and set that aside for your monthly, quarterly. Like you're going to want to go on a trip anyway. So it's not like you'll have to convince yourself to go somewhere. Annually, same thing. Who doesn't want to go on a vacation? This is so easy to schedule, and this is so easy to plan for and do, right? Now, why wouldn't we? That's the other question I have. Why would we know everything I've just talked about tonight? Some of you guys are our clients. You've been tuning in week after week after week. Some of you guys are just fans and followers. You've been tuning in week after week after week. Some of you follow this stuff. Some of you guys don't. Why wouldn't we do this stuff? Even though it makes sense, even though we get it, even though we know it's the right thing to do? That's the real question, okay? It comes down to 2 things. If I'm insolvent, it means that I lack persistency, right? We said persistency is for someone that's insolvent, that's not currently winning with money. Lack of persistency, and this might be a little bit hard, I think it's true. It means that I agree with, and participate in losing activities more often than I agree with, and participate in my own goals. I'll let that sink in for a second, okay? I'm going to repeat this. Lack of persistency means that I agree with, and participate in losing activities more often than I agree with, and participate in my goals. That's it. That's lack of persistency. That's what it comes down to. It means that I would rather not budget. I would rather not save money. I would rather not follow the blueprint steps. I would rather not invest. Not that I think those things are bad. It's that I prefer eating out. I prefer consumption to production. I prefer consumer debt to saving money instead. I prefer driving a nice car to having financial freedom. Not to say you can't have a nice car, but If you're insolvent, you shouldn't be buying a new car. You're insolvent, right? So it comes down to I like, agree with, and participate in things that make me lose more often than I like, agree with, and participate in things that make me win. That's all it comes down to. That is the why. If I changed that one thing, I would win. Right? So I have to decide, it's a decision. I have to decide that I like, agree with, and participate in my goals more than the losing activities that are maybe creature comforts or things that are habits or things that I've always done or that all of my peers are doing. Right? And that's why it takes persistency, guys. You are changing behaviors, you're changing habits, you're changing mindsets. You're changing literally, it's like going into an automated software and changing the AI. The AI has been operating this way because this is the data that it's had. And all of a sudden you're going to change it. You have to change the data first. You have to give it different input, and then the AI can start operating on different stuff. Your habits are like AI for the human, right? Automation. Now, what if I'm solvent? If I'm solvent and I'm not doing these things, what does that come down to? Lack of consistency. Right? We said if you're winning, you need consistency. You already know what to do. You've already been doing it, already got your results. Now it's about repeating those actions. So if I'm not consistent, what does that mean? Okay, I believe that lack of consistency means that I'm lazy, distracted, and have settled. Okay, I'm lazy, distracted, and I've settled. My attention is on creating what I already have rather than creating a better future. Okay, and these are both very like maybe high confront, like not the funnest thing to hear, maybe kind of hard to hear. I've been in both of these positions. So I'm not telling you, I'm saying this was my experience. This was me. When I was broke, when I was insolvent, I liked eating out more than I liked saving money. I liked buying things more than I liked producing. I liked, consumption more than investment. And that's why I was insolvent. When I got solvent, I went through a period of, okay, I have money. I'm satisfied. I'm not in danger anymore. I'm not broke. I'm not paycheck to paycheck. Right. And so then that was my next thing, is now I lacked consistency. It's because I was lazy and distracted. I had settled for merely having $50,000 in the bank versus financial freedom. I was like, man, it feels really good to have 50 grand. I'm going to slow down and enjoy it now. No. Keep going and become financially free. So my attention was on creating what I already had. This is maintaining, right? I'm comfortable. I have the dream house. I'm driving a nice car. I've got money in the bank. I can eat out. I'm going to keep creating the same thing every day is the mindset that happens here, right? Creating the same thing, making your nest, it's all cozy and cool and nice, but it's not your goals. Your goals were different. Your goals are the thing that you decided when you were broke and you're like, man, I'm never going to be in this position again. I'm going to be financially free. I'm done trading time for money. And so I've traded creating that better future for constantly creating the same thing over and over. Who's ever seen the movie Groundhog's Day? Right? Same day over and over, right? This is the person that lacks consistency with their goals, which is funny because they don't lack consistency in their day-to-day life. Like I said, the consistency exists either way. They're just not being consistent in the things that got them where they are. They're now being consistent in consumption and comfort and all of these things that are nice and they feel good short-term, but it doesn't lead to financial freedom. It leads to staying in the jail cell with your comfy cot because the guards don't beat you up anymore and the guys in the yard are nice to you now. So what do I need to focus on here? My obstacles. Things that consistency and persistency cannot overcome. Okay, I need to know what are my gotchas. If I'm going to do this, I need to understand that I need consistency and persistency, but there's things that I need to have in order first, because these are items that I've listed that I don't think you can overcome with consistency and persistency. The first one is the idea that I know it all, right? Like no matter how consistent or persistent you are, if you think you know it all, you're not going to make progress financially. Because you're not going to do any of the right things. You're going to be, reinforcing why you're right rather than getting closer to your goals. The other one is I can't have, the consistency and persistency work for me if I don't have goals and I don't have a purpose. Okay. And this is something that I think is such a problem in the social media age. Too many of us have goals that are just rhetoric of other influencers. We've heard gurus and influencers talk about cash flow and rich dad this and this and that. And none of it is our own goals. And we're just repeating what we heard them say. Okay. Freaking get rid of the recordings and all the little sound bites of stuff we hear people say and think about what are my goals? If I didn't have to trade time for money, what would I be doing? Right. And if I did, get to that point, how do I want to be doing it? Do I want to be a landlord and have to manage my tenants? I don't. That's why I don't do the fourplexes and the real estate, right? If I listen to some people, some influencers, I would have just done that because that's what they tell you to do. I don't prefer being over leveraged. There's certain gurus that if I just listened to their goals, I would be buying property on 0% credit cards and I would be over leveraged. I would have probably a stressful life. So no goals and no purpose can look like I literally don't have any, or it can look like I'm just copying other people. Okay, I'm just copying what I heard these influencers and gurus say online, or this book that I read that's from 1999 that's never been updated. And I don't know if the guy's actually, doing the stuff he said in the book. What are my goals? Okay. The other thing that I don't think you can overcome with persistency and consistency is consumption that exceeds production. This is not just spending and earning, right? This is me having a mindset and a livelihood if I take more than I give. Okay. I don't think that person can make the same financial progress, even if they're consistent, even if they're persistent, because they will always be at a net loss because they consume more than they produce, whether it's with finances, relationships, it doesn't matter, right? There's certain people that are just wired that way, and that's a decision and that's a behavior. And that's something I've got to fix before I can apply anything I've learned tonight. The other thing that I don't think you can handle with consistency and persistency is paying myself last, right? We've all heard pay yourself first. A lot of people say that, but they don't actually do it. They still spend all the money and then just save what's left over. Okay. I can do all the right stuff. If I don't pay myself first, I'm not going to make the same progress as someone that does. 10 times out of 10, I can show you the guy or the girl that pays themselves first, actually, meaning they take the money off the top before they pay their bills, before they spend it, before anything else. They make better progress than those that don't. And so the person not doing this, that pays themselves last, they can be the most consistent and persistent person in the world, and they will always be behind the 8 ball because of this. Okay. The other one is paying the wrong people first. I can pay myself first. You guys know my soapbox with this, but if myself really means Wall Street or banks or the IRS, well, I'm going to put money in my bank account by paying myself first. No, you're not paying yourself first. That's a product. You're paying them first. I'm going to get my 401k match by paying myself first on salary deferral. You're not paying yourself first. You're paying Wall Street first, right? I'm going to pay myself first by letting the IRS take too much money on my taxes so they give me a refund every year so that I have some money saved up automatically. You didn't pay yourself first. You extended the IRS's 0% loan for 12 months. Okay. So this is something that you actually have to pay yourself first, meaning you're putting the money in places you control. That's why I like life insurance. That's why I like gold. That's why I like, the savings vehicles that we talk about. And then lastly is trigger happy investing short-sightedness, right? I can earn and I can save, but if I get to the invest and I blow my wad because I got trigger happy on some real estate deal that I just had to get into them, even though there's millions of properties across the country, this is the only one I can buy and I have to buy it right now with no due diligence and immediately. Or I jump into Bitcoin or crypto because everyone is doing it, or I jump into some meme stock because that's what's taking off. That's trigger happy investing. I would rather have you have $1 million and wait and do nothing with it and make the right move, a methodical move with your investing, than to throw it into the first thing just for the sake of, oh, it's got to grow. I've got to get it in a deal. Right? Like this will wear off quickly when you get to phase 3 and you start investing for passive income. Once you do the second or third deal, the trigger happiness wears off. You're like, okay, I'm going to do another one. Let me see the numbers. Let me see the PPM. Let me see the memorandum. Let me see all this stuff. And it's like, man, I could do it now or I could do it in 2 months. Like I'm fine either way. But I have to do it now and I have to get into a deal and it has to be this and it has to be that. Like that's trigger happy, and that will blow your persistency. That will blow your consistency, because that's how money is lost in investing, right? That's short-sightedness. That's I've got to make money today rather than I'm trying to become financially independent forever. So I'm going to invest on that basis, not just on what makes me money today. Now, action steps. What do we do? How do we wrap this up tonight? Because I never want to leave you guys with that action steps. The first thing is I need to determine where I'm at. Am I on 0 through 2 or am I on 2 through 3 or higher, right? On the Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you haven't read this, that's what all of this is based on. Grab a copy. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F. That's the number B. Sorry, the letter B, the number 2, the letter F. Again, jerryfetta.com/B to F. But basically, if I'm on 0 through 2, I'm insolvent. I need to confront that for what it is. I had someone text me about 2 weeks ago and they're like, man, I have to thank you because I don't know how or why, but I just realized I'm insolvent. I don't need to be focusing on buying real estate. I don't need to be focused on investing. I need to be focused on getting solvent right now so that then I can do those things, right? It's the definition of building a house without a foundation, right? If I'm on 2 through 3 or higher, I'm solvent, right? And I'm on higher phases. And so I need to identify that, right? So then I need to figure out based on that, do I need consistency or persistency? If I'm insolvent, we know that I need persistency. If I'm solvent, I need consistency. And then number 3, remove myself from distraction. This is the opposite of what we hear. We hear this hardcore, make others wrong, grind it out mentality. Get rid of all the distractions. Get rid of all of the distracting things and people in your life. They're all wrong. It's their fault. No, it's your fault. If something is distracting, it's not the fault of the thing or the person or the object. It's the fault of me, right? If there are people in my life that distract me, it's my fault that they distract me. I don't need to remove them from my life. I need to remove myself from the environment that I'm not mature enough to handle, right? If there are objects or things or behaviors or habits that distract me, it's not the fault of those. I can't tell you that it's the cup's fault, right? The cup's an inanimate object. I can't be like, oh, it's the cup's fault, right? Or I was following the blueprint, but then I watched all these YouTube videos that said different things and I got confused and tried to follow all of them and didn't follow any of them. It's the YouTube video's fault. No, it's your fault. You have the freaking roadmap. Follow the roadmap. Don't follow everyone's directions because you're going to end up going nowhere, right? So I need to remove myself from distraction. If there are people that are distracting or they're not encouraging or they pull me away from my goals, it's not their fault. It's my fault. I need to remove myself from the environment because I'm not strong enough to handle it yet. If there are behaviors that cause me to not do my big 3 challenge, not do my blueprint steps, I need to remove myself from those behaviors because I can't handle them yet. Right? It's a different mindset. It's easy to say it's that person's fault. It's that thing's fault. It's that behavior's fault and to assign blame. But if you assign blame, you will never be the victor. You will always be the victim and the victim never wins, right? So that's a big one. And then number 4, I need to apply the big 3 challenge and the PFP. I need to actually do those, right? If I'm insolvent, I need to do those. If I'm solvent, I need to do those until I get through phase 3. Number 5 here, get on my next blueprint to freedom phase. Okay. This is not something I should be dragging my feet at. This is, again, guys, I followed this and in 5 years of following it, financially independent, right? I will be financially independent in January of 2022. I'm 29 years old. I started following this about 5 years ago, right? I finally decided I should write this up, organize it, put it in a book because I learned it from studying people like Carnegie, like Rockefeller, like the Rothschilds, right? JP Morgan. These are the people that I learned from by reading their biographies and reading what they did and studying their companies. It works, right? So for me not to be focused on what's my next blueprint step, what is the next phase that I'm on? How do I get on it? How quickly can I get there? That has to be an urgency. And then finally, number 6, stay connected, right? This is not something where we tune in once a week. Like I don't want this to be church, right? And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but growing up I went to church and what I started realizing is, man, a lot of people come here once a week. That's the only time they open their Bible. That's the only time they follow the stuff that they're teaching. That's the only time they talk to God. I don't want that to be this for finances. Every Friday we tune in and then we don't do jack shit the other 6 days a week. No. We have to stay connected. We don't need accountability so much as we need community, right? Like count up in your life, in your immediate friends and family, how many other people are talking like we are on this webinar? Not many. I can vouch, like I know for a fact, not many of you guys have friends and family that are gonna be on the same page and understand what you're doing. We have an entire Facebook group, hundreds of people that are on the same page. We have this webinar every single week. We have a Telegram group. We do a webinar for clients every Monday and every Wednesday where we go through study calls. We go through how to use different services and tools with us. Like there's plenty of community to stay connected in. So I need to be consistent with that too, because the community is the thing that keeps me going because other people are always going to make me stronger than just myself, especially when they're supportive and on the same page, right? So here's the last thing I want to go for before I open up for questions. And this is, again, it might sting a little bit. I believe is true. Finances are a mathematical scorecard and representation of our thoughts, priorities, habits, and behaviors. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Finances are a mathematical scorecard and representation of our thoughts, priorities, habits, and behaviors. These thoughts, priorities, habits, and behaviors, these are the only factors that impact the numbers. If I want to improve my finances, I need to improve my thoughts, priorities, habits, and behaviors. If I'm winning with money, it's because of my thoughts, priorities, habits, and behaviors. If I'm losing with money, it is because of my thoughts, priorities, habits, and behaviors. There are no other factors. That's it, right? So if I'm watching this tonight, I'm like, man, I haven't been consistent. I haven't been following the plan. I've been falling off. I've been back and forth. I've been lukewarm. It comes down to these 4 things. Okay. And I'm not going to get into a bunch of psychology and be your counselor or anything like that, but I'm going to tell you, this is your decision. Okay. What I think about, what I prioritize, my habits, how I behave, that's all up to me. And when I decide it matters enough to be persistent enough to change them, I will. Okay. So guys, what I want to do is I'm going to open this up for questions. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. If we're on Zoom, we will answer questions live as usual. If we're on Facebook, I will just answer them the old school way through a tool called Reading. Let me just see first on Facebook and see what we have. Good to see everyone today. By the way, if you're watching this and I said anything that was valuable to you, please share the stream, get this out here. Unless you pay large quantities of money to Facebook, they don't let people see business and finance content anymore like they used to. So it goes a long way if you can share. Justin, good to see you. Ben, good to see you. Brad, good to see you. Justice is celebrating the wins is very important. Absolutely. Good to see you, Todd. Sean, good to see you. So Sean says, I hear you share that you worked your ass off for several years, no vacation, no parties. I hear you sharing that now you make sure you spend time for yourself regularly, meaning self-care. So what is a healthy balance to not overwork and get burned out, but also not losing focus and splurging too much? I hear a lot of different opinions. I'd like to hear your take, Jerry. Any others idea in this opinion in this area? So yeah, I was definitely someone that early on in my business, I didn't take vacations. I didn't take trips. And part of that was because I'm a very focused individual. I'm the definition of one track minded. You give me a goal, that's all we're doing, right? Like there's no other stuff going on. So I was that way growing up in my business and growing my finances and building my own wealth. And what I started to realize was that my life lacked a certain amount of aesthetics and a certain amount of just like chill, like fun energy, right? It was always like work. And I used to call it the salt mines. Like you just get in and you freaking grind. That's great. But what I noticed is that when I have, a certain amount of aesthetics, it's like almost like a reach and withdraw. When I withdraw and pull back from the environment and I go on a trip or I pull back and I take a couple of days off, it doesn't mean necessarily that I'm burnt out or I need self-care. It means that I need change. Right? I think change is healthy. And it doesn't mean that I'm always changing things, but it means I'm pulling back enough to see the full picture and to look at other things before I go and focus. It's just like if you're staying on your phone too long, right? You stare at your phone screen, all of a sudden the words get blurry. You start reading a book, all of a sudden your eyes get tired. If you put it down, even for a little while and come back to it, usually you'll have a renewed energy. So that's my take on that now, Sean. I think, I could have done that over the last 4, 5, 6 years and been totally fine. It was my own mindset that I can't take time off. I can't. That caused me to do what I did. Granted, there's some benefit. I think that the work paid off, but what I found was I do significantly less work now and make way more of a result out of the same or less work than I used to. So I don't think there's so much of a balance as much as just listening to yourself, using common sense. And, when you feel like you need a break, take one. Don't take one that's too long and then get right back into what you need to be doing. Awesome question there. All right, let's see what we have here on Zoom. So again, if you guys are on Zoom, drop your questions in the comments. We will answer those live. Make sure that you have your microphone muted, meaning you're not double mic'd, right? If you're on the phone, don't have your phone and your computer so that way we don't get any echo or double feedback. What's up, Kenny? Nano says he likes my shirt. That's awesome. I think you have this shirt, Nano. If you don't, let me know. I can probably hook you up with one. Jorge, good to see you. All right, we have a question here from Carrie. Let me bring Carrie on live.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. How are you tonight, Carrie?
Hey, good. Nice to actually talk to you again, Jerry. It's been a long time. When you used to live in Alaska, we met briefly. But
Awesome. Where did we meet at?
Petroleum Club, I believe it was.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's good to connect with you again.
Yeah. So I've been kind of picking up what you've been doing and trying to come up to speed, so to speak. So in my little situation here, I'm about to do a transaction, selling a property and coming into significant amount of money. I've got to basically do either a 1031 or some kind of a something to keep away from a huge tax event.
Yeah.
And do you have any other options besides 1031s to get into, and or what is your most profitable investments that you like to get into that are consistent, or do you have a go-to when it comes to other than just your sacred account and whatnot?
Yeah, very good question. So basically, and for those of you that are listening along, Kerry is saying he's got a property, he's selling it. With real estate, when you sell, just like with anything, if you made money, the value or the price went up and you're selling at a profit, you're going to pay capital gains tax. So with real estate, you can do an exchange where you exchange from one property to the other and you can defer the capital gains. So that's what he's talking about. So with real estate, it really depends for me on how passive it actually is. Right. I have found most people when they own rental real estate, it's not actually passive, meaning they spend a lot of time doing maintenance, repairs, tenant management, property management. If all of that's outsourced and it's just a cash cow, and you know that you can get into another one that's also just a cash cow that takes absolutely none of your time, by all means do a 1031. If you're looking at it and you're like, man, no, that's the reason I'm selling this thing is I don't want to manage it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I want to get out. That's a different story. So in that case, I would look into, you can do deferred sales trusts. You can do opportunity zones. My favorite is the opportunity zone. We have certain ones with oil and gas investing where you can defer the capital gains. You can also get tax-free cash flow from it on the back end. We won't get into all the details now just because it's an accredited deal and I can only give out so much info on it, but there are solutions. And so my philosophy to answer your question about the investments is I don't want to work for the same dollars twice. Right? Meaning if I earned the income and I put it into a deal, I'm not spending time on that deal ever, right? I already worked for that money. And so that needs to be totally passive. And anything that I look at from an investing standpoint has to be that way, right? So that's kind of my thought there. Very good question from Kerry there. It looks like we have maybe a question from Travis Barlow. Let me see if we can bring Travis on tonight. All right, we're live with Travis. How are you tonight, Travis?
Doing good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, it's good to talk to you. How can I help out tonight?
I just want to just talk about your book. It's been amazing. It's been an eye opener for me every time I read it. It's been like an aha moment for me, and I just compliment you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And way to actually like read it and dive in. The average American does not read often, let alone about finances. Like this is nonfiction finances. So congratulations on actually using like we talked about, persistency, consistency to keep pushing forward and making that happen. All right. I think we have a couple more questions here. We have one here from Mark. Let me bring Mark on. All right, we're live with Mark. How are you today, Mark?
Hey, Jerry. I'm great. Great show as always. And I just heard something recently on a webinar that was presented to me on investment grade insurance contracts. The information was kind of sketchy at best. They didn't want to disclose a lot of it, and wanted me to go to another program to get more information. So I didn't get really much information. Maybe you could shed some light on it if you do know about the product. And I'm wondering if that's something for me at this point.
Yeah, good question from Mark. So he's asking about something called an investment grade insurance contract. Mark, you're not alone. I have heard of this. And I know you know my friend Steve Parisi. Steve and I have both researched it thoroughly. We can't find that it's anything more than a marketing gimmick, right? Investment grade insurance contract is not an actual thing in the insurance world. So it might be a marketing title. You know, usually it's going to represent something like indexed universal life insurance that's overfunded. It could be pension trust owned life insurance. It could be private placement life insurance, but there's not like a new creature under the sun in the world of life insurance that nobody knows about. So there's really no secrets is what I'm trying to get at. All the research I've done, all the research Steve has done, we've talked about it. It just, to me, sounds like a gimmick to get people to sign up for probably a very common overfunded style life insurance policy by just calling it a different name. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, Mark. All right, it looks like we have a question here from Robin, maybe more of a comment. I always like talking to Robin though. Let's see if she's able to go live with us tonight. Hey, Robin, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm good, Jerry. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. How can I help?
Sure. Well, it's not so much a thing of how can you help tonight, because you helped me just by me tuning in and listening. My schedule has changed and I haven't been able to participate, but it reminds me that I need to get the lead out and start doing this every day again. I fell off the wagon, and everything you said tonight was so true about it's our fault, it's our priorities, it's our habits. I am so guilty. And I just wanted to say thank you for reminding me, and I will do better.
Absolutely. I'm glad I could help. And that's something I love that Robin came out and said that. I think a lot of us are probably in that same spot at various times. And I think it's one of those things that it's very hard for us to maybe admit or talk about. So I love, the courage that someone like Robin shows and coming out and saying, hey, I struggle with it. I've been off the wagon. I need to get back on. Because I think a lot of us can resound with that. And usually when one person speaks up, it makes it okay for everyone else to say, okay, yeah, I'm in the same boat. So thank you for being that person tonight, Robin. Let me just see if we have any other questions before we wrap up here tonight. Nope, I am not seeing any other questions. So guys, we're going to go ahead and call it a night here. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. We will be back again next week, same time as usual. If you haven't already, grab a copy of my book, again, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F. Again, that's the letter B, the number 2, the letter F. Make sure that you share this, you get the information out so that you can help others with it as well. Have a great Friday night. I'll talk to you guys next time.